we just celebrated the independence of India, and we have been doing this right from our school and colleges. But I wonder whether India is truly independent. Instead of saying that India was ruled by British, I prefer to say that India was ruled by one industry. And now India is ruled by many industries. And so I think that this is a very important aspect that we all educators need to understand and make the coming generation free from this industry. Make them, give them a liberty, give them a freedom, give them knowledge, give them the wisdom. I think these certain words, what is knowledge and what is wisdom, and one of the most important word, that is career, which has been haunting for many youth and many teachers. And now this word has become a TRP of many education institute, career. But if you Google, if you search this word career, this word never existed before the Industrial Revolution. The actual word comes from the word Latin, which actually means a horse cart. And today this career is totally money oriented. It's all commodity driven career which we are talking about. When we talk about education, I'm sure that you will agree that education is not just about what today we call livelihood, today's livelihood. So all these questions raised in our mind, and in 2007, we started this community center for the youth called University of Life, where the young youth come together, live like a family, and explore around, look at the difficulties and problems which we have, and the problem itself became our syllabus. There is no prescribed syllabus. All the problems which we face, whether it is a social problem, whether it's a technological problem, all this problem becomes the syllabus. So this is an old ancient house, a 90 years old house, which was turned into a community center for the youth. Two youth from the local child observation home, they joined us and they inaugurated the community center. The village artisans, the village barefoot engineers, the barefoot architects, they all became our mentors. Whatever problems we had to face, we used to invite them, they used to teach us, and we used to learn with them. They all the basically village artisans were so-called, in the modern context, unqualified and in a way uneducated, or in a Hindi we say asabhya, because when we wear a Western attire, when we talk a very good polished English, and that person is normally called as highly qualified and highly educated person in general terms. But the village artisans who came, they all were uneducated so-called, but they are the mentors of University of Life. There are many examples which I will show you, but during this last 10, 12 years journey, and staying with these people, so-called illiterate people, I don't prefer to call it, but still, for the better understanding of the larger people, all of us had been doing lots of innovation at the center. So whether it was a low-cost pumping device to pump the water from the well, or whether it was a compost block made from vermicompost with fungus growing on it, which is one of the India's first innovation, all these innovations were done by all the students addressing this issue, the local issues. Later, at one point, schools and colleges started visiting our center, and we realized that there is a need of bridge of this academic education and so-called these islands of informal educations. So we came up with a program called Village Polytechnic. Polytechnic means, poly means many and technic means arts. So village art, many arts of village. A proposal was given to the local schools that the village artisans, including the housewife, I also consider housewife as a great artisan, Because in general terms, it is considered like, housewife. Oh, you are a housewife, means something low profile. But the housewife, I consider, is one of the greatest artisan we have in our community. So these housewives, local carpenter, local mason, they came in the school for 3 days and they taught the children whatever knowledge they had. So whether it was related to carpentry, whether it was related to the kitchen techniques, all these people came to the school. There's one more important point I want to raise here. Today's education system is more informative. We always use this word knowledge and wisdom, but the problem is with this, our language is that we talk a lot, but there is less of understanding. I think that knowledge is something related to doing. We have a professor or a teacher of a physics, but if at his home, if the fuse goes off, he will not be able to replace that fuse. If you saw the ocean, you went to the seaside yesterday, if you go on boating inside the sea, and if there is a storm, and you have an oceanography PhD person, I am sure he will not be able to help you, but the traditional fisherman will be able to help you. So, the knowledge-based community is something related to doing things. We are getting lots of information from teachers, from guides, from Google, this and that, but I wonder whether we are equipped on how to do it, whether the doing is involved in that. And the second part is wisdom, where the wisdom tells you whether the knowledge is to be used or not. So no matter you have a knowledge of creating the nuclear weapons or the atom bombs, but this knowledge is not to be used, that's something the wisdom tells you. So all these knowledgeable and wisdom people started coming in the school, and they started teaching these students all what they had. And there was a beautiful marriage of heart, brain and hand. The subject teachers started getting involved with these local artisans. Then they taught some theoretical part and the artisans taught the practical part. You see this lady she's a local housewife in the village, and she realized that she knows a lot of things but was not given such an exposure. She is now also selected as the government, this Dai, what do you call, they go to the village, give local medicines. So she also works as a Dai now. There's one more artisan who was a carpenter. And I want to narrate one experience. One of the school principal asked me that this artisan which you have selected is a watchman in our school. So do you expect us to call him sir? I said, yes, ma'am, at least thrice in a week you will have to call him sir. And then the student realized that this watchman is a wonderful craftsman, wonderful carpenter. And then all of the parents started giving him some contracts in their house. And this watchman started getting contracts from the village. So this was the village Polytechnic project. The another thing is the dying wisdom, which all schools, all colleges need to address. This is a very wonderful fort built by King Shivaji in Malvan, just 100 kilometers from Goa. It was constructed around 400 years ago. And the best part of this is that the King Shivaji was not able to bring limestones, which was far away from this location. So he was a great engineer. He discovered that the local fishermen community and the villagers have this art of making lime, which we call tuna, from the seashells. So when we started an earth construction project in University of Life, we were hunting for a local artisan, local villager, who can teach us how to make lime from the shells which are abundantly available in the sea. We were not able to identify a single person who can teach us. Finally, one day, few of our students went to the Bazaar Haat. Wednesday, we have a Haat. And they found this Shrikant Kaka, one of the only 1 or 2 person in our district who has the art of making tuna from lime. You won't believe, when we approached him, and we asked him, Kaka, will you teach us how to make this tuna? You know what he said? There was a twinkle in his eye, and he said, you want to learn? You come to my house next week. I'm going to teach you each and everything about this technology. Next week, we went to his house. The first thing what he offered us, what he asked us, Khana kha ke aaye ho? We said, no, pehle khana khao. You imagine a man who has got a technology which is dying. If we were there, we so-called educated people, what we would have done? The first thing is we think about is the patent. And the second thing is the arrogance. But this man offered us food to eat, first have food, and then he taught us how to make the furnace. He said, Chuna baad mein banao, pehla furnace banane ka technology. How to make the furnace. And then, step by step, he taught us each and every step to make this wonderful, good quality lime, which is also an edible lime. I think Victor will be talking more about all this ancient wisdom. This another thing, we live in a village called Hama Pool, and this was a kind of a small stream 500 years ago, and the local villagers constructed an earthen dam, which became a very huge lake. This is one of the huge lake in the Hama Pool, in the state of Maharashtra. And this huge lake is covered with dense forest, which was constructed by Angre, who was one of the Subedar in King Shivaji's shipyard. So he predicted that after 100 years, we will require a lot of wood to build the ships. So he constructed this dense forest. And look at this, one of the beautiful scenic view you have. And then one day, one of the local politicians, he came out with the concept of beautification of this lake, and they came with this solution that we will construct a skywalk around the lake, having around 1,600 concrete pillars inside the lake. Now, as I told you that there is no syllabus in our University of Life, so this problem became a part of learning. We invited a lot of botanists, village botanists, qualified botanists, and all the students from colleges and schools and our interns, they got with them, they did a survey, and they found that there are more than 500 unique vanaspatis, unique herbs around the forest, around the lake. There are migratory birds coming here. And when we did a study of the old history of the Hama Pool lake, we came up with this beautiful information that the villagers had built this lake at the top of a mountain, and with the gravity, the water used to go to the village around more than 10 kilometers. So such a beautiful knowledge and beautiful wisdom, and with the modern mindsets, we were about to have this skywalk. Students doing this survey with the botanist, and with the help of this study, this survey done near the lake, two of our intern, you see on your left, you see Mohammed Sheikh. He is the one who inaugurated University of Life. And the next one is Omkar, who is in the final year of law. So you will be amazed to know that Mohammed, though from a different religion, but rooted very well in the Konkan culture, did a survey with the old people of Dhamapur and Kalse and found out all the ancient technologies and rituals. With all the studies which we did on the Dhamapur lake, Omkar filed a petition with the National Green Tribunal, and there was a historical judgment given by the National Green Tribunal to pay the PWD 1.5 crore as a compensation to the Biodiversity Committee. What I want to address is, we as education institutes are more focused on building infrastructures. And these dead infrastructures again require a lot of money to again, for the maintenance of this infrastructure. We are absolutely not focused on creating individuals, and to create an individual, first I think we are focused too much. We have been talking about education and total focused on students. But in University of Life, we feel that the focus should be on we, the teachers and the parents. Leave the children alone. We need education because there is a lot of conditioning on us. When we look at the states, I know that ma'am is from Bihar and she can talk more on that, because we look at these certain states as Bimaru states. But I have been to all these states and I find that these are highly culturally literate states. I come from Bombay. I usually say that hum pale bigde hai Bombay mein. And if you look at these cosmopolitan hubs and the remotest village, you find that there is a lot of cultural richness, a lot of cultural literacy in this village, which we as a modern city guys have lost it. So as a school, I think that this is a very fundamental question we need to ask, that where is this next generation heading to? Regarding the success stories of the institution, I was addressing Bombay University, and there were all the university directors, and I was given only 10 minutes to talk. So the one question I asked all the universities and schools, what is the parameter of success of your institution? And as usual, they said that the placements, the results which we have, these are the parameters of success. So this is another example we want to set, that the resident of University of Life has started a self-help group, and they make all the products which are all natural and handmade. And as the Oroville says, even we proudly says that all the products are made handmade and in small batches. So if you look at the balance sheet of University of Life, 70% of the revenue is self-funded and 30% of the revenue is coming from donations. At one point of time, we also overcome around 99%, but then we realized, no, as an education institute, we cannot be 100% financially sustainable, otherwise it becomes a factory model. So definitely there should be a community participation. But today the problem with the university and school is that we are totally depend on grants and funds and funding. The very first question which comes to our mind is, do you have a funding? Do you have grants? So I think this is a very important question which you all educators should address, that how much campus you all are occupied with and what are you doing with this huge campus? Are you producing something? Are you producing some very, even regarding the students are concerned, I'm sorry, we are producing robots. We are producing robots. The most important thing my earlier speaker said about creativity, I would like to add one more thing to add, that we are losing compassion. I know that you all are, most of you have come from Delhi. I will request you, please visit the Khazans of Goa. Am I right, Victor? The Khazans of Goa, and then only you will realize what exactly Goa is. Because usually when anyone comes in Goa, they go to the beaches, as usual, any other tourist who does. But if you have the quest to understand Goa, go and visit the Khazans and try to know the local wisdom, the local knowledge of the Goa people, which is dying. And the reason of dying is that the education system, which is catering to the modern kind of, we are trying to create a modern youth who now wants malls and this cinemas and all that stuff, and the Khazans are going, and so is the wisdom of our ancient India. I don't have too much of time, I'm lacking of time, so I want to show you a 3-minute video which was done on University of Life by Euronews. So thank you very much.
Out of a population of 1.2 billion, a staggering 400 million Indians are migrants who have moved from one part of the country to another to find work. That has major implications for local economies and society at large.
Just for the sake of bread and butter, nobody should migrate from their roots. And when will the child stay in the villages? When the child has got that wisdom, that knowledge of creating self-employment.
That conviction led Sachin Desai to set up the Siamantak school in 2007 in his ancestral village in Maharashtra on the west coast of India.
We thought of starting a community of students where children will stay together, work on different problems, on different aspects, whether it is an engineering aspect or agriculture or social aspect. And this will bring education to the real life context.
Not bound by a fixed curriculum, students here work on a wide variety of projects. Some learn about marketing local food products. Others work on the farm, eco-construction and engineering. There's a practical approach to all subjects.
This is a great school and we get to work on a wide range of subjects, unlike other schools.
Sometimes I go in engineering or sometimes I help in farming also.
Here I feel such a connection with the way we learn. I actually began to like studying. Before, studying felt boring.
In our 8-year journey, we have seen that having this approach of problem solving, they have created n number of innovations here. And all these innovations are then transferred to the villages. So there is a development through education and education through developmental work.
Everyday problems are seen as an opportunity for innovative solutions. For example, these students have developed low-cost but highly potent biomass briquettes to replace factory-made fertilizers and compost. Their work is supervised by a botanist.
This type of process should be done by the universities or should be done by the research institutes which are funded heavily by the government and other institutes.
Tomorrow we don't know what we are going to learn. So there are no walls. And so this concept came, this is a school without walls.